All right, welcome. It's been a crazy few months. I'm back at it though. I'm wearing the Seattle Kraken hat and the Vegas Golden Knights jersey because they were two teams I was completely wrong about in my preseason predictions. Kraken look good. They're in playoff contention at the moment. We'll see how the rest of the season pans out. And I boldly predicted the Knights to miss the playoffs, barely, but still miss the playoffs. And it looks like they're going to make the playoffs. They look fantastic this year. So I wanted to give a shout out to those two teams. One other team I also predicted to miss the playoffs was the Devils, and it looks like they're in good shape to make the playoffs this year. But Devils have had a lot of attention. I feel like Seattle and Vegas haven't quite had as much attention, so I'm going to give them a little props. Updates as well. I went to two additional hockey stadiums in two different states. Well, one was a U.S. state, one was a Canadian province. So my updated stadium ranking tier list thing will be coming out in the near future. I also am going to the Winter Classic in Boston this year. Again, big Bruins fan. Seen the Bruins hundreds of times in person. Been to Fenway Park 100 times in person. Missed the one opportunity, and I believe it was 2009, to see the Bruins play the Flyers at Fenway. So I'm going to see Pittsburgh and the Bruins play at Fenway this year. And it's exciting. I get to see players like Bergeron and Crosby, and a lot of the players that'll be on the ice are respective legends with their team. So it'll be really fun to see that. I'm excited for that. But enough of that nonsense. Let's dive into this. Again, we're about a third way through the season, roughly. Christmas break's coming up, even though it's like a day or two. You got New Year's coming up, so I figured, what better opportunity to do this? Current points leaders. This is goals. This is points. This is games played. McDavid is he's just an animal. 54 points in 28 games. Second place is Draisaitl with 48 points. There's an 8-point difference between first and second place through 28 games. That is insane. That is just an insane stat. And third place is Jason Robertson with 42 points in 28 games. Notable, Tage Thompson is in fourth with 41 points. Thompson having a great season. That 6-point game with 5 goals definitely helped a lot. But nonetheless, his point totals are fantastic. They don't ask how many you got in one single game at the end of the year. They ask how many you got throughout the whole year. Tage Thompson, fourth place right now. See, he's a beast. Let's see what he has in store for the rest of the season. Goals, McDavid leading the way, which is a bit of a surprise, but it's not. We all know he can put the puck in the net, and he's an extremely talented player. But he usually hovers around 40 goals per season. He's looking to break well above the 50-point or goal mark. If he keeps going at this rate, a lot of guys are on a 50-goal pace this year. It's incredible. Obviously, scoring's up, but still seeing the best in the game produce. McDavid at 25 goals. Jason Robertson's in second with 22 goals. This kid is a stud, and he's mature, and he plays defense. I can't say enough good things about Jason Robertson. He is a great player. Third place is Tage Thompson. We usually start at third place, but again, Tage Thompson had a 5-goal game. We'll see how sustainable his numbers are throughout the remainder of the season, but I wanted to add a little extra, and because there's more notable players. Fourth place is Bo Horvat with 20 goals. He's having a great offensive season. Obviously, he needs to shore up his defense a bit, but overall, he's putting the puck in the net at an insane rate. And fifth place, you have a tie between Draisaitl, Pastrnak, and Mikko Rantanen. Rantanen with the hat trick last night, doing it without Landeskog and without McKinnon. It really speaks volumes to how good of a player Rantanen is. There's a lot of debate about, who really helps who on that first line with Landeskog, Rantanen, and McKinnon. And the truth is, they're all fantastic, great players that play well together. But they have a ton of individual talent regardless. And I think Rantanen, it's on full display for him right now, and good for him. Dude also plays a pretty solid defensive game, which is great. Getting on to assists, McDavid, again, leading the way, leading with points, goals, and assists. He has 29 assists, Kucherov with 28, and Panarin with 28 assists as well. Great numbers. We're going to get on to the defensive players now. The Norris Trophy, for some reason, has turned into a points contest. It's been like this for a bit, but it's more of a points contest than it is a defensive defenseman contest or a two-way defenseman contest. And there are nuances every now and then with the voting, but why we're looking at defensive points right now. Excuse me. Erik Karlsson dominating on the offensive side of the puck. 37 points in... these are goals. 12 goals. He leads all defensemen in points and all defensemen in goals. Great offensive stats this year so far. His defense... It's Erik Karlsson defense. It's questionable. I think it's been better than the past couple of years. But he is the offensive defenseman for the Sharks now. There's no more split time with Brent Burns and who gets power play time and none of that controversy. It's Karlsson, and he's putting up the points, and he's showing he can still produce on the offensive side of the puck. Defensively, you kind of know what you're going to get with him. You're going to get things like turnovers, and he's going to be caught up in the offensive zone when he should be back defending. That's kind of the nature of being an offensive defenseman, however. So it's interesting. But Rasmus Dahlin, man, 32 points, 9 of them goals, and he plays a two-way game. He's been getting better every year, and this is really his breakout year. And it's not just on the offensive side; he's defending well. Hats off to Dahlin. They got Owen Power, who's going to be an animal on that blue line as well. He's still really young. What's he like, 18 or 19? I don't know. I haven't followed his stats too much this year, but that's a lethal blue line over for Buffalo in the near future. Buffalo also has, they're a young team. They need to learn how to defend better, and we'll get into that. Their offense is there. Their offense is extremely talented. Defense usually comes with a little more age and experience. So their defense will get there. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But at this point, the team's very young. The blue line is very young. It's just a matter of when that defense will come to fruition. A lot of that's from experience, and the quickness at the NHL level is different, and the skill set is different, and defending is a little different in the NHL than even, say, like the AHL. Nonetheless, Dahlin killing it. Morrissey, offensive powerhouse this game. 31 points, incredible. Another great two-way player. He is not in top 10 for goals, so I left him absent. Quinn Hughes and Sergachev were the only other two that were absent. Morrissey's having a great season. There are a lot of guys that are having really good seasons, some of which aren't putting up the points, some of which are. A lot of this is dependent on what defenseman is running the point on a team's power play. That's where a lot of these points come from, which is kind of a shame because, you get a team with we'll go back to the Sharks. You got Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson. And if you're splitting time, neither guy's going to really be in Norris contention because they're sharing points. You got one guy, the other guy's going to be overshadowed. Cale Makar and Devon Taves. Devon Taves in Colorado, he's very good offensively. It's, it's... I'm not a big fan of him, but my God, he has an incredible game on both sides of the puck. He's great defensively, and he has some offensive firepower to him. But his offensive game gets harshly overshadowed by Makar. That's because Makar runs the point, and he's more the offensive defenseman in that pairing. Because Devon Taves plays better defense, it's a good match. But nonetheless, so I just want to point that out there as well. Adam Fox, just a beast. He gets better with every year too. He's a young defenseman. He's got 30 points, 7 goals. He's just, he is a powerhouse on that blue line for the Rangers. Quinn Hughes, again, more of an offensive defenseman. His defensive deficiencies are there. With the Canucks, there's a lot of defensive concerns. So as Quinn Hughes' defensive numbers don't look as good as they should be because the team isn't back checking as much as they should. They're not playing team defense at a rate that Bruce Boudreau would like. Consequently, Quinn Hughes' numbers suffer just a bit from that on his defensive end. Offensive end, his point production is fantastic. Quinn Hughes is a great offensive defenseman. Makar has 25 points. 6 of them are goals. Sergachev, 25 points. Not in the top 10 in goals. And I wanted to finish this off with Filip Hronek of the Red Wings. Dude is having a season. 24 points, 6 of them goals. 10 of these points are on the power play, which is, he's running the power play over there. More so than Moritz Seider. I think Seider has like 4 power play points. And Seider's good. He's having a bit of a slump this year, but he's not playing awful. But Hronek has just been an animal on that blue line. He's been by far, at least in my opinion, the best defenseman for the Red Wings this year. Not just offensively, but defensively as well. He is solid. He's played an incredible two-way game this year. Filip Hronek, I didn't see this coming. He deserves a lot of credit. I think he's paired with Olli Mata for the most part. So that helps Hronek drive up into the zone a little more than he used to. But nonetheless, he's great on both ends of the puck. So shout out to Hronek. I want to throw him some love on this board. Again, I'm not someone who roots for the Red Wings or anything. But man, this guy is having a season, and he deserves credit and recognition. So now we're going to get into goaltenders. This should be a little quicker. Goals against. I'm not a huge fan of the goals against stat. It's more of a team stat and how well your team's defending. But then again, you can say a lot. You can interpret that for a lot of the goalie stats anyway. So I put it up on the board. Ullmark leading the way, 1.77 goals against with 19 games played. Insane stats. It's Samsonov, Ilya Samsonov. He wanted his name or pronunciation of his name changed from Samsonov. Oh my goodness. It was Samsonov, and now it's Samsonov. No idea why, but whatever, man. 1.87 goals against. Also an insane stat. 10 games played. It's been a bit of a carousel up in Toronto's net this year. I think Matt Murray's played 10 games as well. We'll get into that later too. Kochekov in Carolina, 2.21 goals against, 11 games played. Obviously, Samsonov, Kochekov haven't been full-time starters this year. Kochekov has the net right now in Carolina. He's outplayed Ronta, Freddie Anderson. With the injuries, you know how that goes. But man, Kochekov has been good. He came into the playoffs last year as a rookie, played his first American game, didn't speak really any English, and he looked good in the playoffs against Boston last year. This is a talented kid. Great signing to extend him to a $2 million a year contract for, 4 years or something crazy? It was crazy. Great team value contract, in my opinion, for Kochekov. I really like his game. He's really sound in his positioning. So, fantastic. Vitek Vanacek, 2.3 goals against in 18 games. Ullmark and Vanacek, I guess all 4 of these teams have a good defensive system in place. Toronto plays pretty solid defense. Go figure. But their defense is pretty solid, and consequently that helps your goaltenders' numbers. Usually goalies that win awards and trophies are on a good defensively structured team. Goalies help out defensive stats. Defense helps out the goalie stats. It's, again, it's a team sport. Anyway, save percentage. Ullmark leading the way. He had a great game last night against Vegas. Only 1 goal allowed. A .941 save percentage, again in 19 games. Insane numbers. We're talking Igor Shesterkin territory now from last year, which it's just insane. Samsonov at .933, again through 10 games, but nonetheless, it's a great stat to have through 10 games. Connor Hellebuck, .930 through 21 games. Hellebuck is an animal up on that blue line. And I think Hellebuck deserves a little more credit because his blue line has looked pretty iffy at certain points throughout the year. Nonetheless, he's a brick wall over there. Hats off to Hellebuck. Matt Murray, 10 games played, a .926, and Ilya Sorokin, .925 through 20 games. So what is this? 5 guys, right? Yeah. You got one, two, three of these five players are starters and have had the net all year, being Omar Hellebuck and Sorokin. Murray Samsonov have split the net, both with their respective injuries throughout the year, both with 10 games played, both with good save percentages, both with huge bounce back years from last year, partly in so because of the defensive system they're playing behind. Got to give Toronto credit for how they've defended in front of these goaltenders. Just, respect. 18 goalies this year have a 916 save percentage or higher. And that's a minimum of 10 games played. That's a lot of goalies that are performing really well. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Even Philip Gustafson in Minnesota has a 920 save percentage, and watching a lot of Minnesota games, it does not look like he should have a 920 save percentage. I think he's only played like 10 games. But yeah, it's crazy how many goaltenders have a great save percentage this year. It's good. Offense is up. The goaltenders' numbers seem to be up this year. We'll see if that's sustainable because they were down quite a bit. I think the past 2 seasons. All right. Anyway, team stats, point percentage. Every team has played a different number of games. You have teams who've played 29 games, 25 games. It's, comparing overall points can be a little misleading, so I'm just going by points percentage at this point. Bruins lead the way, 833 point percentage. All 5 of these teams have a great point percentage. It's crazy. We're seeing crazy stats this year, and I love it. Devils in second, a 9 or a 9. That would be nuts. A 6. Oh my God, numbers. 796 points percentage. Hair under 800 in the Leafs. 924. The Leafs, remember, got off to a slow start as they did last year and just plowed the rest of the way through the season. Again, with the Leafs, it's not so much making the playoffs. They have the talent there. They have the defense. The defense gets better and better each year with them. It's what are they going to do in the playoffs? It's a big question mark with them. I don't think there's any doubt that they're going to make the playoffs. They should. Obviously, we'll see. Next up is the Winnipeg Jets. 685. I'm really struggling with these numbers. I apologize. A 685 points percentage for the Jets, and the Knights have a 683. Jets, wasn't expecting them to be as good as they are. They have a good team. I was thinking more like the wild card they make. No, man. Hellebuck's playing well. The defense is playing well. Morrissey's putting up offensive numbers in addition to his defense. Their offense is scoring. They have more of... It feels like they're playing more as a team than more for individual stats, which is really fun. It's great to see. I think that's kind of what they've been missing under Paul Maurice. They're having a great year. And the Knights, man, the Knights are just a deep team. Players are stepping up. Logan Thompson is looked great in the net. He's one of those boring goaltenders to watch who's just always in the right spot at the right time. His positioning is phenomenal. Very much like Tuukka Rask. Not an overly flashy goaltender, but very sound. And that's a recipe for success in goaltending. So those are your top 5 teams by points percentage at this point. Offensive stats, goals for. Bruins leading the way, 3.89 goals for. Sabres just a tick behind in second place with 3.86 goals for per game. The Stars, 3.75. The Stars, Robertson and Roope Hintz, man, but they also have a lot of other pieces. You have Ben having a year. You have Miro Heiskanen on that blue line contributing. You have Sagan looking more like his older self. His stats don't quite show that, but he's playing better than he has the past couple of years. Pavelski just is never going to age. It's insane. Devils, 3.7 goals for per game, and the Oilers, 3.64. All 5 teams are doing great. Oilers, obviously, with McDavid and Draisaitl on 2 separate lines, produces offense. And then when they have a power play, you have Draisaitl and McDavid playing together for the entire 2 minutes, which is a nightmare for any team playing against the Oilers. Last place goals for against are the Blackhawks, 2.38. It's rough. That's a rough stat. Goals against per game, so how many goals a team's letting in per game. The best 5 teams were the Bruins, 2.11 goals against per game. The Devils, 2.33 goals against per game. The Leafs, 2.41. The Jets, 2.56. And the Knights, 2.67. So if you notice, this order of goals against is identical to the points percentage. And some of those teams show up in the offensive section as well. Just a little fun fact there. You can have a great offense, but you got to defend to really, really do well. Power play percentage, Oilers leading the way. Again, Draisaitl and McDavid playing a whole 2 minutes on a line together with the other team down a man is just, it's a nightmare. It's scary. You dread it when you're playing the Oilers that your team's going to get a penalty and you're going to have to face those 2 superstars for 2 minutes, plus the supporting cast. You know, the Hyman, Yamamoto can step in, Nugent Hopkins, Tyson Barrie can move the puck on the point. It's a solid team. It's a very solid power play, and they're leading the way, 30.7%. That's a crazy number. The Avalanche, 29%, still pretty high considering the number of injuries they've had. That has hurt the first unit on the power play a bit. Nonetheless, Avalanche power play is, second in the league at 29%. Great stats. Bruins 28.2. Sabres at 28, just a tick below the Bruins. The Lightning 27.7. Last place, the Blue Jackets 14.7. There are a few teams under 16 or 17%. The Ducks were second to last with 15%. The Canucks were down there. Getting into the penalty kill, Bruins 85.4%. It's just, I don't know what's going on in Boston, man. I'm a Bruins fan, and I don't know if this is it's crazy. It's crazy time. I'm not complaining though. Sharks fall to second place. They were in first place for most of the season. 84.9%. Still a lethal penalty kill. Can't say much against that. The Stars 84.6. The Jets 83.6. And the Penguins at 82. Last place were the Blues. 65.6%, which is crazy. You have to remember they started the season off with that. Well, the beginning of the season they had that losing streak, and then they had the winning streak, and they had a little losing streak, and it's been all over the place for the Blues. So just remember that 65.6% includes their winning streak where they were just rolling over teams. We'll see what happens. Fun little look at stats. I might do something with analytics coming soon in the future. I'm a big stat guy. These are kind of just the basic generic stats you can find on like the NHL website. There's a lot more depth to get into it. Goals saved above expected and what that means versus my take on it. There's a lot going on with the stats. It's crazy time in the NHL. We'll see if some of these settle down into more normal NHL trends. 54 points in 28 games is insane. The amount of goal scorers in the NHL on a 50-goal pace is insane. Some of these save percentages, if they hold throughout the rest of the year, are insane. It's just there's a lot of craziness happening in this league. And I think part of it comes from teams selling out to get a higher draft pick. The whole Bedard sweepstakes, but it's going to be a good, at least top-heavy draft. We'll see how much depth there is in this draft, but you got a top pick in this draft, you're potentially getting a franchise-altering player, which could be huge. So there's a number of teams, rebuilding to get a higher draft pick, and then there's another number of teams that are really just going for it. A number of teams that are built. Bruins, this could be their last year. This probably is their last year contending. The Avalanche, they're in good shape to continue doing what they're doing, which is scary. The Lightning, they're going to run out of cap space soon. Their cap constraints get tighter and tighter every year. We'll see what happens with that, but there's a lot of contending teams that it's going to be tough for them to sustain over a longer period of time. The Penguins could be their last hurrah. The Capitals are going to probably should look at some type of rebuild in the near future. I think it's too soon to call a rebuild in Washington. It's definitely too soon, especially with some of the injuries they've had. But again, there are teams that are bottoming out, and there are teams that are going for it all. So it's, we're going to see some teams and some stats be a little more inflated, and some teams doing a little poorer than expected. So it's interesting. Let me know if you have comments. Do you have any ideas for videos or whatever you want to throw my way, or questions that you want me to address? Please reach out. If you want me to do a deeper dive into stats, great. I'd love to do that. I'm a big numbers guy. We can really get down and dirty with some of these stats. Whatever. If you have questions about teams or players or prospective trades, let me know. I think I'm going to do a video on Puljujärvi in the near future too. He wants kind of a new organization to be with. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's good to be back. Take care.